Your host, anointed author, minister, and life coach, Pastor Paula White.
Well, you better get ready because God has big things for you, grand things for you, great things for you. In fact, the life God put you in is larger than the life you've been living. I want that to hit your spirit and think about it. With me tonight is a great man. You've seen him on the theater or in the theater on the big screen. You've heard his name. It's synonymous with fame, 80 films. He has been doing this for a long time, for over 30 years in cinema. But what many people don't know, not only with the color purple and with Lethal Weapon, and we could just go on and on and on of the great things like Courage and, Nelson Mandela's story, and we could continue to talk about all the accolades. But what few people realize is you don't have an appreciation of someone's destiny often until you know their history, where he's come from, and who the man is. The man, Danny Glover, is a great humanitarian, and he understands that his life is a life of significance and a life of purpose. Welcome to TVN, Mr. Danny Glover. I am honored. Thank you. You are my friend. And I wanted people to hear Danny Glover, not come on here and say, yeah, it's great that I had movies and I was great, but you're saying it's great that I get to make a difference in the earth.
You know, what I like hearing from people, they said, Mr. Glover, we like your movies, but we like the other work that you do.
Right.
You know, we like your movies, but it's the other work. Thank you for saying that what you said at some point. Those are the things that add some of the kind of dynamic to your life. And then you can kind of, like I said, sometimes you don't always get the job you want. Sometimes you get always the film you want. Sometimes the film that you do that you think is going to be successful is not successful. But at the same time, people will do that. And you know, it's so funny because, you know, I sometimes I wake up in the morning, I tell people, because I don't drink coffee, you know, and I wake up in the morning and I just get up. We were talking about this. Yeah. We're talking about exercising.
We're going to talk about
exercising is the way in which I kind of get my energy up, you know, and trying to get going in the morning.
And I heard the doctor's report. You've got a perfect one. That's right.
But you
it's
know,
perfect.
It's all of that. I think exercise is so important. But you know, I've been involved in doing something with Tahitian Noni, and when I get up in the morning, I drink a little bit of what they call mobility. I drink a little bit of Noni and energy, and then I'm up here, and I tell you, one of the things is that you have to not only exercise, but you have to continue to revitalize your body, and put that stuff that's essential. And Tahitian Noni has been extraordinary for me in some sense. And one of the things, it's also the idea when I think about that and think about Tahitian Noni, I always say to people, let me introduce you to something. It's not let me introduce you to something. And I was talking about to someone recently about my sister who died of colon cancer, my brother. And I said, if I had the opportunity to been able to introduce them to something, I would introduce something like this, Tahitian Noni, in which it changes the way in which you look at yourself, and also in a time of crisis always. And we're talking about the kind of financial crisis that we have around, that plagues us. Not only this Tahitian Noni been for me some sort of way of physical wellness, it's helped people with financial wellnesses too.
Right.
You know, and one of those things is in terms of just how do you begin to service people and help people, just the little things. The people, when they can pay their bills, when they can pay their house note, when they can pay their rent, when they can say that I did this, that I, in a sense, were the embodiment of this happening, that I had the strength to do this. Those are the things that encourage me as well.
You know, I know one of our first conversations, that was such a huge concern. We talked about the mortgage crisis.
Yeah.
We talked about what our nation was facing. I was asking you, what are the problems that we see as a society and as a nation and as a people struggling that want to fulfill purpose, but the reality is they have financial noose around their neck, they have health problems, different things that they're facing, and your life has been a representation that, one, I know not only with your sister, but your dad and his kidneys.
His kidneys,
You
yes,
represented it on the board for anemia and bringing awareness. This
Absolutely.
isn't something that you're pulling out. You value the gift of life.
Absolutely.
And you understand the importance. You value what it is, having come from struggle and hardship.
You know,
Your first 10
absolutely.
years spent in inner city areas and areas that were not the home you live in now, or the
Absolutely.
lifestyle you've that God has opened up to you. I've been there, Mr. Glover.
But you know, Pastor Paula, one of the beautiful things is that I live in the same neighborhood
Right?
that I've lived in
I know.
since I was 10 years old.
It's amazing.
It's
I know.
amazing. I live around here. I see the faces of young kids who were born, 32 years ago, and they say, "Mr. Glover, you remember me?" I say, "I remember you were here, but I remember you now."
Right.
But,
Love you. Thank you. That's it. I am so honored, and what a privilege to present to you the other side, maybe the side you didn't know, to Mr. Danny Glover. And that's what life is about. The life God put you in is larger than the life you've been living. There's a purpose, there's a plan. And you say, "Paula, are you sure you're talking to me?" A messed up Mississippi girl whose daddy committed suicide, sexually and physically abused, but God. A great man who had dyslexia, epileptic seizures, who had adversity, who maybe life said you can't, but God said you can. If God can do it for Danny and Paula and many others that are to come to you to show you your life in this year of new beginnings has purpose.